Welcome back to The Eurostep, a podcast that explores the intersection between sport and story. Every week, we interview professional female basketball players about their overseas experiences. I'm your host, Peyton Williams, and this is my co-host,
Maddie Byer. I hardly know her.
And we're back.
I think that's an every week thing.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be part of it, and people are going to love it. They're just going to be expecting it every week.
That's true. I'll have to switch it up eventually, but for a while, that'll be the go-to.
Exactly. And Maddie, we are joined by none other than my former teammate, Aaryn Ellenberg. Aaryn, how are you?
I'm good. It's always nice to sit down with you, Peyton.
Where does life find you right now? Where in the world are you right now?
Right now I'm at home. I'm in Las Vegas. Came off of a long season in Turkey and have retired, really, to be honest. I hung up the shoes, looking to explore a new part of life. So that's where I'm at right now, just in the middle, really.
Well, Aaryn, I'm going to read a little bit of a bio about you, so you're just going to sit there and listen to it. So,
dang, all right, I'll try not to, get embarrassed or, blush or anything.
Aaryn Ellenberg is first and foremost God's kid. She's for Jesus all the way. She's originally from California, grew up in Las Vegas until it was time to legally become an adult. She went to school at the University of Oklahoma on scholarship for basketball, and eventually transitioned from there into playing professionally overseas. Now she's in a new era of transition as she's recently hung up the shoes, put the ball down, and is pursuing a new part of life. So, that was a brief bio, but there's a lot of life that happens in that bio. So we're going to kind of go back and talk a little bit about some of this stuff, because she wrote that part of that bio for herself, and so she didn't mention some of the, really awesome things that she did. So we're going to go back and revisit. So, first of all, this information is out there for anyone, but we will look at a little bit about your college career first. So, as a freshman, you broke the record for three-pointers. As a freshman, we'll just talk about that. Which, to be fair, has since been broken by Taylor. Is it Taylor Robinson? Robinson, right?
I think so. I don't keep up too much. I'm not one of those big alma mater, keeping up with everything kind of a person, but yeah,
that's fair.
Records are meant to be broken. I'm glad for her. Somebody else will probably break hers at some point too. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I played when she played, and yeah, she was just, we had to have someone on her all the time, because she was just, lighting it up. But before her, you were lighting it up. You broke the record as a freshman.
Wow.
And then your total number of points that you scored in your career was 2,328 points. You averaged just shy of 20 points per game in your senior season, and as a junior, you averaged something like 18 points per game, which is really great. And then you were on Big 12 teams, all Big 12 teams as a freshman, and then you were first team all Big 12 every year thereafter. You were also an All-American honorable mention. I'll just go on and on, but
I mean, we don't have to.
The point is, Aaryn, you really crushed it in college. You really did. Can you tell us just a little bit about your college experience? What was Oklahoma like? Were you immediately drawn to Oklahoma? What was some thoughts about your college experience?
I would just say, I was really blessed to be a part of just a really good and solid program with good people, good coaches, good, mentor type people that you could honestly look to and, help you to kind of build your life a little bit as a person just learning and coming up in the world. So I would say just really blessed, first of all, and I had some really, really good teammates. I mean, all of us know that, in sports, you don't, especially a team sport, you don't accomplish any of that stuff you just listed off alone. There's always other people involved. So I just had some really, really good people around me the whole time. So that was really just my overall experience.
Yeah. I have to ask, did you like school, Aaryn? Tell me a little bit about that.
You know I didn't like school. No, school, I don't know. I'm a learner. I love to learn. I think it
Yeah.
was just like in that sort of a structure and like environment, it just wasn't really my cup of tea. And as a young person, I'm like a totally different person than I was then, like just totally in terms of like mindset and all of that stuff. But yeah, school was not an interest for me. I did it because you have to, and you need to keep your grades up to an extent to be able to play and get on the court, which was what I was all about at that time. So, but school, but I am a learner. I love to learn. I love learning new things. I'm curious about a lot of stuff. So, yeah.
So just to follow up to that, seeing as that I am the only one in this podcast episode that is not a student athlete, I've not been a student athlete before. What was that like? So since you said you love learning, but academics were not necessarily your interest, did you feel pressure to balance academics with athletics? What was that like in college, particularly?
For sure. I mean, anybody who's been a college athlete knows that like the overall load and intensity level of that is enough just within the sport, let alone adding, academics to it. We do that in high school, but it's still not nowhere near to the extent of what they like expect from you on the college level. So, I mean, that was tough. It was exhausting most of the time. You're just trying to find time to just sit down for a second and not have to be somewhere. But for the most part, it was enjoyable because you have a whole group of people that are going through the same exact thing as you. So we're all just really together in it, and you kind of just form like a family, a group where everybody's kind of in it together. So you're not alone in it, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
That community is so important.
Did you have any teachers that like kind of gave you a hard time because you were an athlete at all, or not really?
No, surprisingly not. Like, you think it'd be like some movie where you have that teacher on your back all the time, but like, to be honest, a lot of them loved the women's basketball program. They loved Sherry, like,
That's good.
so I mean, just they know what you're having to do and what you're going through, so they're a little bit more loose with it and understanding, when obviously you have to miss class or something, or maybe you didn't have time to do this or this assignment. They'll give you a little bit of an extension. So that was never really a problem for me.
That's good. So moving on from college, you declared for the draft, but you didn't get drafted, though you went to the training camp of the Chicago Sky and made the roster for the first... How long were you there, I guess?
I was
It's
so
been a
long.
while.
That was so long ago, I really can't remember. It might have been maybe a month or two. I really, I maybe had seen or, sat. I didn't play, but, sat maybe a couple of games in the beginning of the season. And then after that, I had gotten cut. So that was a really short stint.
Right. Were you expecting it to get drafted or not really?
I think it was sort of in the middle. I had an anticipation, a hope that I would. I thought I was good enough too, personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously it was a little disappointing, not getting to be drafted. But it literally it was as soon as the draft was over, my phone rang, and it was you want to come to training camp? So I mean, that was a little bit of okay, somebody still thinks I can, do this.
Yeah. Just jumping off of that, how, just in general, when you experience disappointment, whether in the world of basketball or otherwise, how do you cope with that? Maybe we keep it specific to basketball, like losses, things like that, or just disappointment. How do you cope?
I think I'm a lot different than a lot of people. I mean, I'm very, Peyton knows this, I'm very, chill and, even. Because it's sports. I mean, at some point, after you're playing for so long, you understand you're not going to win everything all the time. Someday it's going to be your day, and someday it's going to be the other team's day. And really just, can I accept that I did everything I can and go home knowing that I did that? Then I'm cool. You still think about it because, you're an athlete and you want to win and you want, to be the best. But, at the end of the day, you just got to go, all right, I'm a human. Like, this is sports. This is what it is. Today was not my day. And, you know, you do what you can to bounce back from that.
I love that. It sounds like for you, athletics is a part of your identity, but it's not all of your identity. Because I wonder if, you know, for some people who maybe like being an athlete is who they are and that is where their worth, their worth is contingent on that, would maybe not have that perspective. They would take losses and disappointments a lot harder than it sounds like you do. Would you say that's accurate? Like you don't see that as like end all be all of your identity?
You just took the words right out of my mouth. I've said that since probably I was a teenager, to be honest. I've never really wanted to like make basketball my identity. Like I wanted to always be a part of other things because I never wanted to have to think like, who am I if I'm not playing basketball? What can I do if I'm not playing basketball? Like that really just limits you in a lot of ways. So for me, I just tried to kind of make sure I did other things where I didn't put so much value of myself into like being a basketball player.
We definitely, I think that's what we connected on most when we were teammates, is that it was really important to both of us that basketball wasn't all that we are. And I guess for me though, it was a little bit different playing in the States than it is overseas, because it might not, you know, you might say, oh yeah, like I don't want basketball to be all that I am, but when you're overseas, basketball is kind of all that you're doing. So I guess as you made that kind of transition to overseas, like how was that, and was that kind of a struggle at first to remember that your identity was not just basketball?
No, for me that was never really a hard thing because I mean, as I told you guys, like I'm much of an introvert. I like to do so many other things. Like I'm good with like I'm gonna go do my job, and then once this is gone, don't talk to me about that. Like I don't, you know, I'm
You're
like,
good compartmentalizing.
yes. Like when I'm playing basketball, I'll be all there. I'm gonna do that. But like once I leave, like I'm not trying to think about that. Like I'm trying to, you know, live life and do other things. I just tried not to make that the only thing I thought about or was interested in, because then I feel like it just becomes impossible to like do anything else, even though I am very much so like where I am type of a person. Like I don't do the multitask type of thing very well. Like where I am, that's where I'm at. Like, so
transitioning kind of now into the overseas part, so can you kind of give us year by year where you went, where you played, how long?
Okay, yeah, so I started my first year off in Poland, which was very interesting because I'm not a geography person. So I was like, where? Like, what? I had no idea what to expect in that sense. But I started in Poland, and from there, I mean, I never stayed with one team, to be honest. I moved around every year. I might have stayed with one team one time, and that was just a half-year stint, and then I came back for a full year. So I started in Poland. I went to Austria. Then from there, I went to Iceland. From there, I had half a year off, and I went to Slovakia. I started late in that season, you know, after the halfway point. And then from there, I went to Australia for a summer. Then from there, went back to that same team in Slovakia for the full season. After that, France. After that, Poland. After that, Turkey, Hungary, back to Turkey to finish. So it's been a little ride across the world a little bit.
Oh my word. I'm like furiously typing all these country names out as you're saying them. I'm like, did I get that? Oh my gosh. When did you start? What year did you go to Poland? Because that was the first country, right?
Yeah, that was 2010. I left school in 2010 after the draft. I didn't graduate at that time, but I just decided I'm gonna go. So.
Okay. And then what year? When was your last year?
Just now, just this year, March.
Okay.
Finished up mid-March, and then I was home. So that was it.
Wow.
10 seasons and all. So.
and never the same place every year, at least.
Pretty much. I only returned to the same country twice. So I did two times in Poland, separated obviously, and then 2 times in Turkey, separated.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Wow. So that's 14 years?
No, it's like 10. I did 10 seasons.
Wait, but 2010 to 2024.
I guess so. But I did 10 seasons. I don't know. I started when I was like 21, and now I'm 31.
What?
The math ain't math.
Rest of 2010, 2014. Sorry, I left school in 2014.
Okay.
I left high school in 2010. Oh, God.
Girl, low-key, when you said 2010, I was like, wait, how old are you?
I misspoke there. 2014, I left. So, yes.
Okay.
That's 10. I can count.
Still, though, I mean, yeah, a 10-year stint of every year a different country. I mean, that is wild.
It is. When I think about it, I look back and think about it, it is pretty wild. But at the time, it was just very normal. It became a very normal thing, like ordinary to me.
Right.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh. So many questions just already from all that. Like,
she's like, I'm in the world of basketball.
Immersed, full immersion. I will say, because you're retired. You are done now. Is it weird? Is it like, give me the vibes.
Vibes.
Yeah, what's it like?
The vibes. I don't know if it's really like completely in there yet, because like when you get home, you have a little bit of a time where you take a break, and then you maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know how long other people do it. I don't usually take that much time off. I'm a little different, but you take some time off, and then you get back to training, and you get back to just focusing on preparing kind of for the next time you're going to get ready to leave, which would be sometime around August for most people, I would assume. But yeah, no, it doesn't feel, honestly, it was like a super big relief. I mean, I had talked to you before kind of about retirement, even when we played. I'd be like, you know what, I can just leave today.
Right, pack my bags.
But no, I'm here. I'm just really trying to get a new feel for something different, just relaxing and resting, and because that's a big part of your life, like even beyond just 10 years playing professionally. We go as athletes a lot of the time into like our childhood, like that being a big focus for us, and just strain on physically on your body and stuff like that. So really, I'm just in a place where I'm trying to rest and just explore some new stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Do you think after this 10-year stint of just constant transition and having to adapt, to new culture, new country, new team, do you think resting will prove to be a little bit uncomfortable for you? Or are you, I don't know, how do you feel about it at this time?
I feel actually really good about it. I feel very much so like this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And, whatever I'm going to head to next will reveal itself in time. I've kind of given myself a little bit of like a gap year, if you want to call it, or I'm not going to commit to really anything in particular as far as a job or anything like that. I'm just really going to try to rest. And Peyton knows I've been writing and stuff like that because I want to, try to get into the cinematic world and stuff like that. But really just, sitting back and letting God lead the way, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm just following wherever he needs me to be, asked me to be, that's where I'm going to be. But you got to kind of sit back for a second and stop moving to hear a little bit.
Oh, so true. So true. And that just reminds me of one of the things you had mentioned just before we started, that one of the themes of your story is that everything that happens is the way it's supposed to happen, right? Like how it's supposed to happen, when it's supposed to happen, it's exactly the way it's supposed to be, because God knows, right?
Right.
Like he knows. He's not surprised.
He's not surprised even if we are.
Definitely not, because I'm surprised all the time.
Right. We are surprised, but he's not, and that's good. But just the freedom of that, I can imagine that allows you to rest and enjoy this gap year, so to speak, to be like, you know what, like I'm not the one that's ultimately in control of my life, and that's actually super liberating.
It really is. It really is. Like, I didn't really grow to understand that till the last, like, maybe 4 to 5 years or so, like maybe halfway into my career, a little bit maybe beyond that. But like, yeah, I mean, you feel lighter. I feel lighter, like just knowing like I don't have to hold and squeeze and, try to control everything all the time. I can kind of just, release things and know that, wherever I'm going to be is where I'm going to be, and he's got it. So, I mean, and I can just look back over my story and see, even when I was unaware of it, it's just been, he's had his hand in everything a little bit.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, is there anything specific or any events that you can look back on and see that sort of helped you come to that place of relinquishing control and trusting?
I think it's really just kind of made its way through habits, just the way I've changed in habits, the way I've changed in like my heart and in my thinking and all that kind of stuff. It just took a whole lot of time, like, to develop and cultivate that. Like I told you before, like, I'm totally not the same person that I was, as a young adult, even up to like 23, 24, years old. Like, it's just been a dramatic change year after year, just softening of my heart and just like all of that kind of stuff. It's just been like, it amazes me to just think like how far I've come. Sometimes you gotta just stop and look up and be like, dang, like I was totally not even at this place like just that little while ago.
Yep. And what an opportunity for you right now to truly be able to stop and reflect. Probably clearly the most amount of time you've had in the last 10 years to slow down and reflect on the last bit of your life.
I think for most people, like, some people are like, how? Like, are you scared? Like, are you nervous? I'm like, no, like, for me, it's, like, really exciting in a way. Like, I'm anticipating, like, really good things. Because I know that when you look at your own story and you see just how far you've come, you're just like, yeah, it cannot be finished. Like, it's not finished. There's still so much more. So, really, for me, it's just exciting in a way. I'm not scared. I've never really been too much of a scared person, but even when I am, I'm just like, do it anyway.
Yep, that's great. Yeah.
Do it scared. That's
exactly
right. Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, you've had so much practice in transition, right? Because each year was somewhere new, and like for 10 years you were changing where you were going. Maybe the bare bones of what you were doing was remaining the same, but yeah, new country, new people, new team. I guess my question is, because the thing that you take with you is yourself, and you are a very disciplined person, at least as I have come to know you.
Have become.
Yeah, and that's my question is, were you always that disciplined, and how did you make that decision, I guess? Was it a choice, or did it just happen over time? What was that like?
I'd say, I mean, I've been to a degree some sort of a disciplined person when it was something that I valued or cared about. If I didn't care about it, like, you weren't getting much out of me. Like, it just wasn't a thing. But, as you mature and as I've grown just in my faith and all of that, you kind of learn that, excellence is just got to be a part of, like, your character and in your integrity, really. Like, it shouldn't matter, like, if I care about this or not. Like, I'm going to be excellent no matter what I'm doing, where I'm at. So that came through in the discipline part, just, like, knowing that I got responsibility over, like, where I'm going. Though I may not always have the control, I have the responsibility to, like, choose, like, little habits and things like that are going to get me where I'm trying to go, or get me where he's taking me, to be honest. So
Yes.
Sure. There's that who was it who was talking about, like, faith in God is like, you have faith that the bus, like, you're late for the bus, but you still have to run. Like, you're not, the bus isn't going to stop for you. you still have to run to meet the bus, but you hope the bus, like, you'll get there in time, I guess. Is like, and that's kind of like faith, is that you hope that God will meet you, but you still have to put in the work.
You got to put the action behind it. Like, faith is not just believing. It's like you got to act like you believe by moving your butt.
Exactly.
Yes. No, that's really just been a big part of my journey, just even as developing as an athlete, not even just as a person, you know. In college, I was a totally different player than as what I am as I ended my career, to be honest. And that's just been small, disciplined habits of like, where do you want to be in like 5, 6, 7 years? Like, what kind of a player do you want to be? So, like, what are you doing right now? Like, you got to get up and go to the gym at 5 a.m. Like, you got to go 11 o'clock at night because that's the only time available to you. Like, do you need to get in this hot garage and lift weights because you have some weight equipment and this is the only option you have? Like, just little small things like that of like disciplining and knowing that, yeah, it may not seem like anything's happening right now, but like in the long run, those small little stacked up habits and things, they're gonna prove to like make something happen. And it has. Like, I've seen it. So
yeah. Wow. You had mentioned that you had to learn to stop running from hard things, right? Like things that made you uncomfortable or inconvenienced you in some way. And so I'm hearing you talk about just excellence is the word that comes to mind. I think you used that word. But discipline in general and just like kind of forcing yourself to do the hard things and to stop running from whatever was just convenient or comfortable in the moment. And so I guess my question with that is what is the motivating factor for you in choosing to do hard things or choosing excellence, living that out as a core value? Or I mean, how are you motivated to do that?
Honestly, just I'm trying to be good with my friend, good with God. Like, I'm trying to please him, to be honest. Like, that's where I'm at right now. You know, as a young person, I think it was just really a struggle with running from, like, being responsible for certain things or just, you know, have people expecting things from you in that way. Like, I was always pushed into, like, kind of leadership positions or stuff. Like, I didn't want it. Wanted no parts of it. Like, I would be like, don't pick me. I don't want to be in the spotlight. I don't want to lead. I don't want anybody looking to me for anything. Like, I just want to be responsible for myself and myself only. Like, that was like my thing, you know, growing up. But really, I mean, I'd heard it over and over again, like in themes of my life from different people that I've been around, whether it's coaches or, you know, mentor type people in my life, you know, with whom much is given, much is required. And I hated hearing that. I just hated hearing it all the time because it's like, I don't want it. Like, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for these gifts. I didn't ask for like all these things that people apparently see in me as like being able to lead or being somebody they want to look to for things. So it really just came to a point where I had to stop really running from that part of myself. Like, it's in there for a reason. Like, people look to you for a reason. So you have to kind of embrace that to an extent. Even if it's not your personality, you can do it in a different type of way, in your way. Yeah.
What do you think that fear was? The fear of responsibility or being a leader, a role model for people? Why do you think that made you run?
Well, I think just disappointing people was a really hard thing. You know, you want to kind of live up to whatever people see you as or believe you to be. So I think it was just trying to not disappoint people. That was a thing for me. Like, I don't want you to expect anything because I know at some point I'm a human. I'm going to disappoint you, but sometimes people don't understand that in the world, you know?
Yeah.
You know, you just see that. You live and you learn and you see the world and you see how things work. So it just, that kind of was a thing in me from a young age, just watching the world and learning. So
that's so interesting, especially because, I mean, yeah, you grew up a lot, you said, but I mean, from like a player perspective, I mean, in college you had like, you're like, I don't want to be the leader, I don't want to do that, but then you're producing such high numbers, and then the same, like, I mean, I guess I don't know your numbers in your like career in Europe and stuff, but you produced high numbers in Europe as well. So like that component stayed the same throughout that. So I guess like as a player, was there a disconnect from that fear, or like what was going on there, I guess?
It was very much so like a huge tension. It was a fight. It was really a fight, like a whole battle. Like I'm the person that's gonna do what needs to be done, but I'm gonna be mad about it the whole time. Like I don't want to do this, but I'm gonna do it. But I'm probably gonna be mad about it, and I don't want to do it. And like you're gonna know, I don't really want to do it.
Real. That's so real.
But really, I mean, honestly, it kind of falls away a little bit kind of when you step on the court. As far as for me as an athlete, you know, when I get out there, I was never looking to lead or looking to be in the spotlight or looking to be the best player. Like it just naturally went that way, just not even just based on I think a gift. I think my gift wasn't necessarily in the fact that I could play basketball, because that was developed. But really just in my ability to just be calm about it. Like it is what it is. You have this gift. People are going to look at you, especially people look at the numbers all the time. They look at, all they want to do is look at stats. So when you're leading in that position, people just expect you to also be a leader, which is not always the case. So I just you just got to accept it. I still didn't want it. If you wanted me to do an interview, no, not really. You want me to take these pictures? No, not really. I mean, I try to run to the locker room after the games, trying to get away from people. Like, I didn't want any of it. But to a certain extent, you have to accept it, especially at my position as a point guard. You're also, they call you the second leader, on the court, an extension of the coach. So just every role that I stepped into had some sort of leadership position attached to it. And so I just had to, in some ways, accept that to a degree, but still be myself at the same time.
Yeah, you really have the skill of, and the mindset, it seems like something that, based on what you said, just comes naturally of, like, just keep shooting, like, it'll go in eventually. Like, that is very much...
It's me
what
to
I've
a T.
understood.
From playing with you, which is not me at all, and is not, like, is a gift for, I think, a lot of players would love to have that, whether, like, if it's natural, that's amazing, but just to trust in the work that you've done, and for you, it truly is work. Like, you really did put in the work with you, and you said, I do trust in the reps that I get in with Michael over the summer, the weight room sessions that I put in. I really trust in that work and and know that it's gonna eventually, maybe not at first in some games, but it's gonna shine through.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just very optimistic in general I'm like the what if it goes right person. Like, I'm not the what if it goes wrong. I'm always like, well, I'm gonna shoot this. What if it goes in? Like, I'm not really worried about the ramifications, I guess you could say, of like what could go wrong if I do this. I think that's been probably one of my biggest gifts, that God has given me, just to be able to do things and not think about the wrong end of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just that's what's got me to where I am for the most part. The freedom I've gotten to do what I've done is just, I'm going to go out here and do this, and eventually you're just going to let me do it because you see that I can. Like, at this point, I'm not going to be shy in the sense of not doing what I think I can do or know I can do. So I'm just going to put it up. You're going to miss all the shots you don't take. So I'm just going to take a few and see what happens.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, and that relates to what you said about how you fear is not something you struggle with as much. Like, you aren't a generally afraid person, and when you have that perspective of, well, what if it goes right? What if I do make these shots? Fear can't make its little vice-like grip on your heart when you have that perspective. And I love that it's so clearly rooted in Christ as well, just from how you spoke about your faith. I think that's amazing. And like Peyton said, it's something that a lot of people in general, not just athletes, but certainly a lot of athletes, they would benefit from that perspective for sure.
Yeah. I guess, like, practically building off of that, like, do you, because I know we've talked about sports psychology and that was maybe an interest for you at some point. If you're talking to younger players who do really struggle with that, what would you say, like, practical things that might help? I know it's probably hard because it comes so naturally to you, but if you had to maybe condense it and figure something out, what would you say?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I've always told people, like, people have wanted me to teach them different things, or like somebody wants me to train their kid or do something like that. I'm just like, I can't teach you how to be me. I can't teach you. I can probably teach you how to shoot a little bit, or I can probably teach you how to dribble, but that's really not the whole amount of like what's made me me. What's made me me is that what we just talked about, my ability to just do stuff and not worry about what people are going to think about it, or if they're going to be mad at me if I took this shot, or if they're, or if I tried this, like, so, I mean, I would really just say you got to trust the work, and you have to actually be willing to do the work. If you're not a person even of faith, like, it doesn't matter. This is just a basic life, human principle. Like, if you put in the work, you can kind of lean into that a little bit and really just trust that and know that you're human. Like, you're not going to have a good day every day. That's just, it's impossible. We're not robots. Like, but if you can really just stay disciplined and be curious about, how you can get better every day, like, the work is going to prove everything, right? Nobody's ever worked super hard and regretted it, or it didn't pay off or amount to anything.
Yeah. The idea of having grace with yourself is a really tough concept, I think, for athletes. That grace is in abundance, and it's not just for other people, it's for you too.
Yeah.
My mom said yesterday to me, she was like, embrace the grace, Maddie. And I don't think my mom came up with that, but she thinks she did. And so I'm just going to put that out there and embrace the grace. Maybe that's what you tell younger people who look up to you, Aaryn. You just say, embrace the grace.
Yes.
What can I say?
Embrace the grace.
Maybe. And still, that's still another thing. I'm just like, I don't want to talk to the young people. I don't want to tell anything. I'm just this old person now, and like, I'm not trying to talk to the kids. But like, I know it's important, and people, for the most part, have always wanted to hear what I've had to say in some capacity, because I don't say much. So when I do say something, it's not just like wanting to pop off at the mouth about anything. It's like actually something that I've thought about or has some meaning to it.
Yeah. And I mean, you've done your job with excellence, and people always want a piece of that. Like, they want to hear the recipe for success. They want to hear anything that you can give them. They will eat it up. Like, that's just human nature, I think, but also the kind of culture that we live in now. Which, I mean, like you said, like, it's not just going to happen based off of something that you say in a conversation to one person.
Yeah, people want the results a lot of the time, but they just don't want to do the work. Like, they want to hear about your story and hear how you got to where you got, but they don't want to participate in the doing part of what you had to do to get where you're at. They just want to see, like, the end result of everything, which obviously is tough when this, like, instant world we live in where everybody just wants things to happen like that. But, like, even the person I am now, that took a cool, like, 7 to 8 years to, like, get to this spot of, like, being comfortable with myself and comfortable in my faith, and just, like, just being free in a sense.
Before you got to this place of being comfortable with yourself and it's so clear you know who you are and you live that out. But prior to getting to that place, can you think of anyone in your life that you drew inspiration from who lived that way, who you're like, I want to emulate that?
That's really hard, because I felt like I didn't have too much of that. I mean, I had some, like, coaches and things like that, you look at, and they're living, some type of life that is to an extent appealing. But for the most part, I didn't have that much. So I kind of had to really I had to really get curious and really just like do a lot of digging personally to dig that out and find it and find my way, to be honest, because I didn't have like a real live example to just like watch and learn from, you know, in real time. So it was a lot. It was a struggle for a real good portion of the time, just trying to figure out what I'm looking for, like what am I looking for, until I finally got to like, oh God, it was you the whole time, like, why didn't you tell me a long time ago? Like,
absolutely, we don't have to look externally for what we already have internally, right?
I mean, it wasn't really always a part of even my journey. Like, I ran from that too. I ran from God too. Like
yeah, we all do.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, like I just didn't want any parts of it. So I was like, nah, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it my own way. Like, Jesus, get in the trunk. I got you.
Get in the trunk. Not even the back
like,
seat.
when I need you, I'll call you out. Like, we can figure something out. But like,
it just like pops through that little like armrest thing. It's like, so can I like
yeah, no, that was literally like me for the longest time, until I was finally just like, dude, something's gotta shake here. Like, something's gotta happen. Like, I cannot, I am crumbling here. Like, I can't do it.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me when we had first met. Like, I think it was the summer before, that it was like a really, like, to use a film term, like, dark night of the soul moment. Like, can you talk about that a little bit?
It was really that, like, to be, like, I felt like I could probably write a movie about that, to be honest. Like, it was just so much going on, like, internally for me and also externally at the same time. So it was really just, still, even though I had learned to release some control over, like, different parts of my life, I was still holding on to so much stuff, just so much isolating. That was a thing for me. I told you about, like, where I'm just like, I'm just gonna hold everything in. Like, I am not a human. Like, I do not show emotion. I do not, like, I don't do any of that stuff. Like, so it was just really to a point where I just couldn't do it anymore. And I showed up to that year with you, to be honest. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to play this year. Like, I really don't, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show up for these people. Like, I cannot. Like, I might have to go home. So, yeah, really just, that was surprisingly, like, I mean, you saw me playing. Like, nobody would have known. Like,
spoiler, she crushed it.
So that is a really big part where I'm just like, God, dude, like, you were in it, because there's no way I could have done all of that with the way I was feeling and thinking and everything. So
yeah, and that's, again, like, you're really good at compartmentalizing, which is, yeah, again, back to that skill. But yeah, that's really wild. You would not be able to tell, and that's just a testament. You never know what someone's going through. You just never know.
I started therapy that year too. That probably helped me to get out a little bit. So just speak and stop isolating and just be emotional. Like, I'm tired of crying now all the time. Like, I feel like ever since I like opened the tap of like emotion, I'm just like, why are you crying all the time?
Yes,
it's so inconvenient. Emotion
really is. It's so annoying. Like,
oh, it's so good for you, though.
I realize it, and I'm just like, let it out. Like, even if it's like, it's not even just sad stuff. Like, I'm like seeing something happy or something, I'm just like, why are you crying at this commercial?
I do have a question about, like, because you're a very independent person and you are an introverted person, but you even said, like, the isolation and independence and aloneness of being overseas is just very different from just being an introvert in the States and all that stuff. So can you just talk a little bit about that and how it's different?
I think it's different in the sense that, you know, if we're going to talk about just as an athlete and being on teams and stuff like that in general, when you're in college, you form a bit of a family. Like, you're never really alone. You have a roommate or you have somebody, or, you know, there's always people around you to an extent. But when you go overseas, it's like, we're going to drop you in your own little apartment and you're going to be by yourself. And then you could be 9 to 10 hours away from your family or any of your friends. So, like, when they're sleeping, you're awake, and when they're awake, you're sleeping. And it's just like, there's just so much time to sit with yourself to an extent. I mean, you can distract to a degree, which for the first few years I was doing that, just whether it was watching TV all night, playing video games, going out, partying, drinking, and hanging out, and just all the stuff, because you just don't want to have to sit down and, like, settle in, like, what is happening with me? Like, what am I doing? But yeah, to an extent, you just have so much time to sit with yourself. Like, what are you going to do with this time? Like, who do you want to be? Are you going to figure it out? Are you going to get curious about you and, like, what you're doing, where you're going? So, yeah, it's totally different just not having somebody with you at all times, or even just being able to communicate with them at all times, where if you're in America, you have access to everybody all the time. Like, you're on the same time zone. But
and I mean, you can't run when it's just you.
you cannot. Everywhere you go, there you are, like, all the time. Like, you are the common denominator here. What is going on?
Yeah.
So true.
But that was actually a fun part for me, and it was an important part for me, I will say. Like, that was probably one of the best things that could have happened to me, to just kind of force me to sit and discover some things, and even just develop and discipline and learn in that, just bouncing from team to team as well. Like, I would take, okay, I'm trying to learn how to become a new person, how to become a different kind of a person. Like, I didn't do so well in that last team with, like, being more open in this. Now I'm going to New York. They don't have any clue who I am. I get to start over again. I get to press the reset button and kind of try again. The next year, oh, maybe I didn't do that so well, so I'm going to try to do it a little differently with this team. It's like, that was, like, really good for me to kind of just, in that sense, be able to hit a reset if I felt like I didn't get it right the last time, to then build off of that and just learn. So that was really important in my process of growing too.
I feel like there's, like, kind of two ways you can be an overseas player, and it's like, either you just, because like, you have to deal with the aloneness, and you have to deal with yourself. You have to reckon with yourself at some point. And either you don't do that and just distract, or you really do make an effort to really get to know yourself, and like you said, try and make adjustments each year, and each day, each month. So I agree with that.
No, it's important. I think that probably also leads to the difference between some people who transition well out of being an athlete in sports and people who don't. Like, if you're not even concerned about who you are, like, internally during this process, and all you're just doing is distracting and playing basketball, once you leave that, like, what happens for you?
What's left?
How do you know where to go? Like, who do you know to be, like, at this point? So I think that was more of my concern, of, like, having a picture of not necessarily what I wanted to be in terms of, like, an occupation, more so of what kind of person that I wanted to be.
So wise.
Yeah, absolutely. Maddie, do you have any questions before we transition into rapid fire questions?
I don't. Okay. I'm ready for those rapid fire questions.
And they're, like, rapid fire.
Like, you're putting me on a timer? Do I have a timer and I gotta, like...
You have 10 seconds.
Go. They just mean, like, we didn't send them to you in advance necessarily. Except for one.
It's like the hot seat, really. It's not even the rapid fire. It's like, hot seat, tell us the hot stuff, give us the tea.
Yes. Give us the tea. I mean, I will include one that we did send you. So that one's kind of a rapid fire with an asterisk.
All right, Aaryn, are you ready?
I am ready. On the clock.
This one's really, really, really deep, so get ready. Are you a window or aisle seat on a flight?
Aisle. I mean, it just, honestly, I can be both.
Okay.
I can be both. Sure. When it's like if it's in, like, an early morning, because we've been on some of those 3 a.m., 4 a.m.s, or, you're flying through the night type of thing, you can give me the window, because I'm going to want to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be awake. I'm not going to need to go to the bathroom. Don't bother me.
Sure.
But for those, like, international long flights where you're going to get a little restless, I prefer to have the aisle, because I can just move about freely without disturbing anybody and that kind of thing.
I like that. Strategic. That's a good strategic answer.
Everything's thoughtful. Nothing is just out here on the whim.
Absolutely. So follow up to that, on those long international flights, what do you do to pass the time?
I'm a movie watcher. I love running through the movie collection on the plane. Like, that's the first thing I do when I sit down. I get all my snacks out and I get everything situated. And then I'm like, what kind of movies do you have? I can watch probably... I mean, I have it planned out a little bit. I watch a movie, take a little nap, wake up. We have some of the lunch or the dinner or whatever they give you. I'm watching another movie. I do another nap, and then one last movie before we land the plane. It's usually I can get to about 2 or 3 movies before we land the plane.
Wow.
It's like a whole film festival.
It really is. It's like my chance to catch up on the new movies, too, because when you're overseas, sometimes you don't really... Sometimes you can't find a theater, or sometimes the theater's not playing anything in English, so...
I also think it's perfect to watch movies that you're like, I kind of wanted to see this movie, but I didn't really want to. So now I can't go anywhere. Let's just watch it.
Now that you're held hostage.
I don't got to pay for it. I don't got to do anything. Yes. It's a free one. It's a freebie.
Exactly.
Right.
So next one, are you Spotify or Apple Music?
Apple Music. I've never really used Spotify. You know, I'm the convenient person. I don't do the technology, so... And my phone is just like, oop, it's right there.
So, pull up your Apple Music if you can. Tell us what the most recently listened song was.
What? You're joking.
No cheating.
I've been in my my worship music lately, so the last one that played was Forever Yahweh by Elevation Worship.
That is my favorite worship song.
Really?
Yes, that is my all-time favorite. Love it. So good. Makes me cry every time.
Yeah, I mean, even that, just like, the tears, I'm not trying to cry all the time. Stop playing this song.
Oh, man. This is switching gears a little bit, but what's one of your biggest basketball pet peeves?
Ooh. I would just say people that don't give the proper effort. Really, I don't like playing. I never liked playing with people that aren't gonna like put everything in it. Like, it's not just about you. Like, there's 4 other people counting on you out here on this court. Like, so if you don't do what we're expecting you to do, or we know you can do for whatever reason, like, you're just thinking about you. You're not thinking about us. We're a crew. We can't do anything. Can't get anything done if you're not on board. So that's just been my biggest pet peeve as far as basketball.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. One of my favorite Aaryn quotes was, it was like, I can't remember what brought it up, but it was like, sometimes I just wish basketball was an individual sport. And I was like, Aaryn.
Really though. I was made for individual sports, I swear. It's just the way I'm wired. Like, I like my success to be dependent on only me. Like, I don't want my success or failure to be dependent on if somebody else decided they wanted to do this. Like,
yeah.
What would you have played if it wasn't basketball? Like, what solo sport specifically, I guess?
Oh, tennis. I really enjoy that. Just the physical part of it, too. Not just, like, watching it. I like the movement. I think it suits, like, my athletic ability, too. So, and just, like, you're competing, and it's just you and the other person. Like, bam, back and forth.
Yeah. Did you watch the new movie, The Challengers?
No, I didn't. The one with Zendaya, right?
Yeah.
It seems a little provocative, and I'm just like, I don't know. I love Zendaya. She's like one of my favorites of all time, but I'm just like, I don't know.
No, I watched it because I feel like tennis is like making a comeback, no pun intended. Like, people are really interested in tennis right now. It's like very trendy, along with like pickleball and stuff. Anyway, so I saw the movie and I was like, I thought this was a tennis movie.
Ain't nothing about no tennis.
It was so raunchy. I was like,
didn't even hit a ball, did they?
I mean, I don't remember if they did. I was so traumatized.
It's awesome.
Yeah, see, that's the vibe.
I should have done more research. I saw it was like rated R, but I was like, everything's rated R these days. It's fine.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the next Disney movie has an R on it, to be honest.
I know that's right. I know.
Do you have a crazy overseas story that you like tell people, or what?
Nothing, no like really crazy. I wouldn't say anything outrageous. I did a lot of not so PG things as a young adult. But I would say one of my favorite experiences, like just wild, was Australia. I played there in the summer, so it's our summer season, but it's like their winter. So it's really just a little 4-month like season where you're just there in that gap between, you know, our regular 9-month season. But yeah, Australia was just wild. It was just like a bunch of young 20-year-olds living in a big 5-bedroom house. Like, you only got to practice. It's like paid vacation. Like, you only have to practice twice a week. And then it's like AAU on the weekends. You're just playing about. Sometimes you'll have a double header. Sometimes, one time we had a triple header where we played Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like, and it's just really, you have a whole lot of freedom. Like, nobody's telling you what to do. It's like college without the academics and just everything. So we were not doing too many positive things, but we were having fun.
Do you have a favorite verse or like a biblical truth that's been really like hitting you right now?
For my life, really, I think has always been like on me and in me. Just faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. That's Hebrews 11. I've lived my life, whether I knew it or not, by those standards, I guess, or by that to an extent. So that's really just been my thing. Like we talked about action, faith in action. Like, if I believe something or I believe I can do this or do that, I'm going to at least give it a go. I'm going to put some action behind it and try it. So, I mean, I wear it around my neck all the time. You see me wearing it. It's just a little Hebrews 11 tag. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's been like a big theme in my life, really.
Maddie, you got one more that you want to ask her?
Yes, it has just as much substance and depth to that question. If you could bring one restaurant from the States overseas with you, guaranteed you'd have it wherever you're at, what restaurant would it be?
Oh man, what would it be? You know, I'm just gonna go ahead and go for Chick-fil-A because that's like that's God's favorite chicken. Yeah.
It is blessed and highly favored.
He's just back there flipping the waffle fries and like, you know, seasoning stuff.
Holy oil.
Yes, it's just it. Yes. So like, I would definitely bring Chick-fil-A. I would want them to open it on Sunday though overseas, but I just don't think that would happen.
Right.
True.
Right.
The Chick-fil-A.
Well, Aaryn, thank you so much for being on the Eurostep podcast. We are so grateful to you for being here and for sharing a little bit of your story with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I always like doing stuff with you, Peyton, and it was really nice to meet you, Maddie, for the first time. And, you know, I'm sure I'll probably be talking to you still, like always, just on and off, checking in with you, seeing what you're doing, throwing ideas at you, throwing ideas at me, you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yes. And good luck in this next stage. We'll be checking in to see if in a few months you're like, I'm bored. Tell me what to do. I'm bored.
Is there anything else you want to start up, Peyton? Just tell me. I'll come. I will be there.
In about 3 months, you're going to get a message from Peyton. She'll say, hypothetically, if we...
And I'm just going to be like, all right, let me just block out these dates because she's about to hypothetically really do something. So let me just go ahead and...
It's not like a hypothetical as much as it's like a soft launch of something, and then also like an indecision.
She's soft launching all her life. She's just soft launching everything all the time.
Constantly.
Yes. Anyway, that's all we've got here. But thank you again, Maddie. Thank you.
Yes, this is so good. This is wonderful. Such a just genuine, refreshing conversation to have with you, Aaryn.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you guys for making me feel comfortable and all that.
I will say, is there anything you would like to like plug? Like, if you like, I would open this up for people who want to like say, oh yeah, follow me on Instagram, follow my YouTube, like follow, you know, whatever. If you have anything, any projects you're trying to do. Do you have anything?
No, I don't want you to follow me. I really don't want you to follow me.
Actually, unfollow me.
Really, like, I could use less following, please. No, I would just say stay tuned. Just stay tuned. God's gonna do some really cool things, and I'm looking forward to it, so just stay tuned.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you next time on the Eurostep podcast. That's a wrap for us.